YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. In this video, I'm ranking every single NFL team by their pass rush core. We're going from 32 to 1. Did the same video for receiver cores. We're going to keep doing other cores and then rank teams by their offense and their defense. My final predictions for the NFL season coming out soon. And then in season, we'll have full NFL coverage, weekly picks, power rankings, recaps, and more. This video, I'm taking the entire pass rush core. So not just specifically the pass rushers, guys that can get interior pressure, so the D-line is involved, any linebackers that are used as pass rushers and blitzes, all that combined here for these pass rush cores. So right before we get started, subscriber goal is at 40K by the end of this year. Please help us out by subscribing. Again, we will have full coverage of the NFL season in season. Hopefully you can join us for that. Click that like button. Check out our Twitter. Link in the description for that as well. Let's get on with the bottom 8 here for the pass rush cores. So at the very bottom, unfortunately, is going to be the Miami Dolphins. Not a lot going on there for the Dolphins. You know, you look at the outside pressure, the actual pass rushers. I think the best one's Charles Harris, who was a first-round pick, hasn't lived up to the hype yet. I think he can have a breakout season. It still doesn't help him a lot. Christian Wilkins will be bringing the interior pressure. Not much else besides that, and that's really why they're at the bottom. You know, that's really all there. I mean, Christian Wilkins could lead this team in sacks, and you really can't have that. Brian Flores is going to have to get some blitz packages going, maybe with Jerome Baker, Kiko Alonso, guys like that, for this to work, really. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 31. Similar situation. They may need some interior linebacker pressure for them to really work out with getting pressure on quarterbacks. I really think Devin White, the rookie, who plays inside linebacker, and Levante David, who's supposed to play inside linebacker, could lead this team in sacks. Jason Pierre-Paul out. Not much pressure coming from the outside. It's strange they kind of got a defensive switch here. You could say they could have some pressure coming from the D-line. They could have a little bit. Dominican Sue doesn't really try too much in the regular season. He's shown that before. We'll see if I know he can play, but we'll see how much he actually brings. Vita Vea is mainly a run stuffer. So the Buccaneers at 31. I do like the blitz ideas, possibly. Just the thought of Devin White, Levante David. That's just not enough. The Patriots. Weird seeing the Patriots at the bottom of a ranking list here, but this is where they're at. Not much interior pressure at all from the Patriots in terms of outside pressure. Really, it's Michael Bennett and Dietrich Weiss. It's about it there. They lost Trey Flowers, the best pass rusher. How much does Michael Bennett have left in the tank? I mean, he's a good pass rusher, but not much of a rotation. They can bring, the linebackers could be used here. Van Noy's pretty good at blitzing, and Hightower possibly. But nothing that really stands out for the Patriots. They definitely could use more, but they'll be just fine. 29 is the Giants. I like Lorenzo Carter. I was high on him out of Georgia. I think he can bring some pressure this year. Could rack up some sacks. I like him. Not much on the opposite side. Nothing coming from the linebackers, really. The D-line is pretty much what holds them up from being at the very bottom here. It's pretty much Lorenzo Carter, but then you look at the D-line, the interior pressure, it's kind of what holding them up, because really the D-line in general is pretty good. I think it's pretty good. I mean, you got Tomlinson's mainly going to be a run stuffer. I think Dexter Lawrence has potential to get after the quarterback, bring pressure. It's not about the sacks, too. This whole video about every team, every player, it's not about sacks. I'm looking for pressure. Sacks are important, yeah, but pressure is the main thing. And they have B.J. Hill, who gets pressure and gets sacks on the quarterback as well. So the interior pressure, which is very important, very key, a game changer in today's NFL, keeps the Giants up from being at the bottom there. The Raiders, who were at the bottom in sacks last year, make their way up a little bit because they added a few guys. Cleveland Farrell, Max Crosby can make an impact. I think Maurice Hurst can make an impact in terms of interior pressure there. P.J. Hill can step up too. Pretty much the same team as last year, except I think Arden Key will start, but I think Cleveland Farrell will get in there and start as well. It helps a little bit, not a whole lot. They were horrendous in terms of quarterback pressure last year. 27 is the Houston Texans. This is a tough one because Clowney's, as of recording this video, I mean, he's not going to play. I mean, possibly still. There's some chance, but it's really J.J. Watt bringing the pressure. Very good pressure. And a good amount of sacks. I mean, he'll rack up the sacks. Maybe it won't be quite as many as last year, but in the ballpark. They're going to have to draw something out with their linebackers. I do like their linebackers, so I think they can create some pressure that way. And then Merciless. Maybe Merciless can stay healthy, possibly. Maybe Clowney comes back. Clowney being back kind of boosts them up a little bit. 26 is going to be the Arizona Cardinals. A whole bunch of sacks coming from one player, and Chandler Jones. He's kind of holding them up here. Terrell Suggs, helps them, but he's nowhere near what he once was. I'm hoping they use Hassan Reddick in the pass rush game, maybe in the blitz game here, because he used to be a pass rusher, and he hasn't really worked out as a stand-up linebacker quite yet. So hopefully they use him. But the players I named kind of holds him up to 26. Doesn't push him up far enough, though, because the defensive line and the interior pressure, pretty bad there. So Cardinals coming in at number 26. The Dallas Cowboys at number 25. DeMarcus Lawrence, maybe one of the better 4-3 ends in the game. But not much after that. He holds them up. They got a couple rotation guys. I like the potential of Dorrance Armstrong. I liked him out of Kansas a lot. How much is he going to contribute? Robert Quinn's going to miss some games. He hasn't really been that great of a pass rusher anyways. Taco Charlton hasn't really lived up to the hype. So you got some names in there that can get after the quarterback, but not a whole bunch. Not a whole bunch of production. Not the greatest interior pressure team. And then the linebackers, I think, it's just about using them more. I think Jalen Smith, they use Jalen Smith in so many different ways that it's like, do they want to risk, sending him on more blitzes or using him on the edge? I think he's very capable. It's just they use him in coverage a lot and sideline to sideline a lot. So it'd be interesting to see what they can do with their current linebackers in terms of blitz packages. But the Cowboys, we're a little worried about their pass rush this year. I think it's really just DeMarcus Lawrence. The next 8 teams, Seattle Seahawks at 24. Team I'm back and forth on because I like the idea of Ziggy Ansah and LJ Collier on the end. I really like the idea. A lot of question marks with their play because LJ Collier, it's a little bit of a different role than what he played at TCU. He was more of a 3-4 end, like a little mixture of both. 4-3 end, 3-4 end. I thought he would play as a 3-4 end, but I do like him. I like his upside. He's a very good run stuffer, but this is about pass rush here. I think he can be that pass rusher. It's just we kind of got to wait and see, and I think it might take a little bit of time, but he can be solid. He's already been hurt too, but he's back. I'm glad to hear that. And then Ziggy Ansah, the question marks with will he be healthy? That's always been the question mark with him. And then will he be consistent? We've seen I won't say elite years, but pretty close, darn good years, and then seasons not so good. I think that injuries kind of played in part of that. But if they're both healthy on the field, pretty good. And then Jaron Reed suspended, of course. That's a blow, but he's very good interior-wise. Poona Ford could step up. And the linebackers, Bobby Wagner not used a whole bunch in terms of getting out of the quarterback, but he can. Griffin can as well. And then Rasheem Green from USC a year ago was more of a 3-4 end. They're kind of switching him around, a little bit of an adjustment. I think he's got some upside. Can't wait to see if he contributes to this team. So they do have a pretty good rotation and a lot of question marks, though. 23 is the Jets, and this team really, in terms of outside pressure, they're starting at the very bottom, number 32, pretty much. I really think a little bit of a hot take, but I really think their best pass rusher at the end of the year could be their rookie, Ja'Kai Polite. So that's really not good. I think he can be good. It's really not good, though. So why are they up at 23? I think they got a pretty darn good defensive line. Then they'll bring some interior pressure. I think Quinn Williams, he was the number one prospect for me for a reason. I just don't want them to stick him at nose tackle. It sounds like they're kind of doing that. They need to move him around quite a bit, but they do have Anderson. They do have Leonard Williams, who gets some good pressure there at the end spot. Shepard, he has some high potential too. Was kind of a interior pressure guy, a pass rush guy that was not a pass rusher too in college. So it's a really good defensive line. It's a really good defensive line, so that's kind of what's bringing them up. There's just really no outside pressure. Williamson got hurt. He could have been using some blitz packages there. Maybe C.J. Mosley can be. I don't know if it's going to be anything crazy there, though. So they're at 23. Carolina Panthers at 22. Pretty good D-line. Nothing in terms of crazy pressure, I don't think. McCoy, how many games is he going to play? Can he stay healthy a full season? He's not really the same, but he can get you some pressure. Quan Short hasn't really been getting a bunch of pressure since, it's been like 3 years. So, he can definitely get back to that. But it's big names in the defensive line, but really nothing crazy in terms of pressure and sacks. And then from the outside spot, they have a few names, but again, nothing crazy. They got a bunch of guys that can play, but it's nothing elite, nothing crazy. Brian Burns, hopefully he can step up instantly as a rookie. It could take some time. You can't have too much expectations. Mario Addison's been solid, but how will he be with the adjustments, the new defense? And then I like the potential and the upside of Marquise Haynes. Hopefully they use him a little more. The Ravens at 21. The Ravens, it's not really about the players for the Ravens. The players can play, but it's really about this defense in the coaching here. Very good blitz packages. They bring guys pretty much from anywhere. You see Tony Jefferson coming in a lot. The two middle linebackers will be used a lot. More than two they got, but they'll use their inside linebackers on blitzes. Their outside guys, there's quite a few names that can be part of the rotation, but other than Matthew Judon, there's really no big names, but guys like Tim Williams and Tyus Bowser, Shane Ray, they can contribute. A pretty good defensive line, but it's mainly a run-stopping defensive line. So it's really the scheme and the coaching is what puts the Ravens up at 21. 20 is the Colts. Nothing elite, I think, about their pass rush. They have quite a few guys that can come in from the edge. How will Justin Houston be? Will he play a full season? We know he can get pressure, a little bit of a different defense. How will he be? So some question marks there, but at the end of the day, he'll get pressure. Waiting for Kamoko Toure to step up. He was only a rookie last year, but I kept kind of saying this guy's going to step up here. Not too many chances. Jabal Sheard, again, another guy that can get some pressure, but nothing crazy in pressure. I like Tyquan Lewis for interior pressure. Margus Hunt and Danico Autry. So, another one of those teams with the rotation. A good group of guys, but nothing crazy. Cincinnati Bengals at 19. It's the same situation there. They do have Geno Atkins coming in from the middle, so that's kind of what keeps them up. They have a bunch of names that can get in there, but not a crazy amount of pressure. Sam Hubbard's probably their best going forward. They got Dunlap. They got Lawson. Maybe Jordan Willis can step up. I would like to see them use Jermaine Pratt, kind of is that blitzing linebacker. So a bunch of guys that can rotate in and create pressure. It's a pretty good core. It's just not, there's nothing super flashy besides Geno Atkins in the interior. They need more on the outside. The Bills at 18. Jerry Hughes on the outside, and then I'm looking forward to Ed Oliver on the inside there. A couple other names. Trent Murphy can get some pressure. Maybe Shaq Lawson finally steps up. Harrison Phillips, mainly a run stopper. But the linebacker unit in general in this 4-3 defense could be pretty solid in some blitzes. Lorenzo Alexander's been like that. And then Matt Milano, I don't expect a whole bunch of pressure from Tremaine Edmonds, but he can do it. So it's a pretty good group there. Jerry Hughes leading the way for the Bills. 17 is the Atlanta Falcons. Another one with quite a few names. Nobody elite, though. I think Tack McKinley could lead the way for this pass rush this year. Vic Beasley, led the NFL in sacks before. Can't really get back to it. Maybe it's possible, though. They get Adrian Claiborne back, and they have Grady Jarrett on the inside. They could use the linebackers if they needed to. Deadrian Sanat could be a guy that steps up in the D-line this year as well. So a few names that can get pressure. It's just not a guy that's going to get a whole bunch of sacks there. But really, between the three guys on the outside, I think it's a pretty solid group. That's why they're at 17. Run on the top 16. Number 16 is going to be the Cleveland Browns. Pretty much carried by Myles Garrett for the most part. They do have Sheldon Richardson for some interior pressure. And then I'm not a huge Olivier Vernon fan. He helps though. It's not like he hurts them. I'm just not a huge fan of his game recently. He will get some sacks, some pressure, and then Jannard Avery is mainly their secret weapon. They're kind of their blitzing linebacker. Taki's supposed to be like that too. I really liked him as that type of linebacker at BYU. We'll see how involved he gets early. But it's really Myles Garrett carrying it. Sheldon Richardson right there with him to help an interior. 15 is going to be the Green Bay Packers. Another one of those teams that doesn't really have an elite guy in terms of getting after the quarterback, but they have a number of guys that can. Zadarius Smith had a very solid season last year. Preston Smith's mainly a run stopper, but will get pressure during the year. And then they'll bring Blake Martinez. He gets some good pressure. And then you look at the D-line. You get Kenny Clark, interior pressure there as the nose tackle, though, so you shouldn't expect an insane amount. And then back to the outside linebacker spot, almost forgot Kyler Fackrell, who is, I think, pretty underrated last year. He wasn't always on the field when he was getting after the quarterback. So a number of guys that can do it, just no big-time players there. And they have Rashawn Gary, of course, forgetting Rashawn Gary. So the rookie, I think he's one that he has a lot of upside, but it may take some time. I'm curious to see how he'll work as a stand-up pass rusher. I was a little concerned about that, saying that in the pre-draft process. It may take some time with him, but he should be a good pass rusher down the line there. Tennessee Titans. You look at the Titans outside, outside pass rushers. You got Harold Landry, you got Cameron Wake. Not a whole bunch going. I do like Landry. I was very high on him in the draft 2 years ago, last year's draft. So I think he'll get a good amount of production this year. It's just looking at those two, you're kind of curious why the Titans are at 14. Well, then you go up to the D-line. You got Jarrell Casey, who's one of the best D-linemen in the game at getting to the quarterback and stopping the run, but that's not this video. And then you look at their middle linebackers. This is where a lot of their pressure comes from. Few of these guys could play. They could actually be a pass rusher. If you needed them to be, guys like Rashaan Evans has actually experience there. And then Jayon Brown with his athleticism. And then Wesley Woodyard, who starts at middle linebacker, also racks up some QB pressure. So between all three of those guys, that's a lot of pressure. And those are just the middle linebackers. So Titans got a good group of guys there. Still looking for that elite outside guy. Landry could be that guy in the future. Detroit Lions at 13. They add Trey Flowers. He's on the outside. They got Romeo Okwara, who had a standout season last year, athletic speed rusher. They have Deshaun Hand, who can get after the quarterback. And the two interior guys, they're solid at bringing pressure, just not going to get a whole bunch of production. That is Mike Daniels and Snacks Harrison, of course, mainly for run stopping. But then you look at the linebackers. This is where this is the game changer here. You look at Kennard and you look at Jared Davis. These guys are perfect in Patricia's defense. These are his secret weapons. They will bring constant pressure, be very, very key in the blitz packages. So a lot of guys I just named off, some pretty good ones up there too. That's what brings the Lions up at 13. 12 is the Rams, really carried by the best in the game, Aaron Donald. So that puts them up at 12. I mean, you start with Aaron Donald, so you're thinking they got to be top tier. But there's not a whole bunch after that. I mean, Brockers is solid for the defensive line. Fowler is just hot and cold. 1 week he looks, I don't know if he ever really looks that great. He'll get pressure some weeks and he's non-existent some weeks. Clay Matthews hasn't really been the same in quite some time, but he'll bring some pressure. They may have to use the middle linebackers a little bit. So not a whole bunch going on, really. Some good names, but an Aaron Donald really bringing him up. I mean, just a crazy pass rusher as a run stopper first originally. So that's what brings the Rams up here. But I think they'll get creative. Corey Littleton, another year, he had a really good year, mainly as a tackler. But I think they'll get creative with him, and I think they can get creative with their secondary too. So and I think Michael Brockers can have a better year here. So Rams coming in at number 12. 11 is the Saints, New Orleans Saints. I almost want to put them higher just because the thoughts, but then can I trust guys like Davenport and Sheldon Rankins to stay healthy? They don't have a whole bunch of pressure from their linebacker core. It's mainly from the outside, which comes from Cameron Jordan, of course, one of the best. And then Marcus Davenport can, and he will get the pressure if he's healthy in the game. I don't really see no reason why he would be out, why you can predict him to be out. I just hopefully he stays healthy. And Rankins was kind of in and out, but he was bringing some really good interior pressure last year. So hopefully he stays healthy. When he was in and out of games last year, missed quite a few games. So hopefully the Saints stay healthy and they can make their way up this list. Number 10 is the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not really sold on the outside yet. Brandon Graham really was key for the Super Bowl run a couple years ago. He hasn't been – he's a good pass rusher. He hasn't been elite. I still think some people think he's elite. He doesn't bring crazy amounts of pressure or sacks. He will be good. Derek Barnett, who I was higher than anybody on in the draft, I think he'll be really good. I think he'll be a very good pass rusher. It's just how much are we going to get this year coming off the injury? Can he stay healthy too? Same thing with the rotation guys. Sweat, I was higher than anybody on him too, but he's got the big-time injury concern. Their pressure's coming from the interior. Fletcher Cox, one of the best in the game. And Malik Jackson, kind of another one of those guys that gets hot and gets cold, but pretty darn, and they got Jernigan as well. So pretty darn good interior pressure. That's what keeps the Eagles up here. But I like the idea of Barnett. Hopefully he can stay healthy. The Jags at number 9, and the Jags really starting off at number 1 when you look at outside pressure. They got some beasts at at their actual pass rush positions. There were Calais Campbell, Yannick Ngakoue, and then Josh Allen, who was my number 2 player in the draft, best actual pass rusher in the draft, in my opinion. And it's going to be fun watching those 3. It's going to be real, real fun. So why are they at number 9? There is zero pressure anywhere else, zero. And you look at last year, they were towards the bottom of the league in sacks, which I'm not counting that too much because it's sacks, not pressure, and that was last year, not this year. But it's hard to believe they were towards the bottom there with 2 really good pass rushers. And you can't expect Campbell to be any better. I mean, he can stay the same, but you can't at his age can't really expect him to be better. They had Josh Allen, that's going to boost them. How much is it going to boost them though? But I really, really like the idea of those 3. I actually like the idea of using the 3 at the same time. They can move Josh Allen to linebacker, have him come in from there. I almost think they need to because linebacker unit's very, very thin. It's really just Miles Jack carrying that. Leon Jacobs can bring some pressure. Marcel Darius is kind of known as their guy there in the interior, but he's purely a run stuffer. Tavin Bryan needs to step up. He's been disappointing. He needs to step up. So he's supposed to be that guy that brings the pressure, but not a whole bunch of belief in him yet. He can get there, but crazy outside pressure from the Jags. They just need that interior and maybe some help from blitz packages, including the linebackers. So we'll see. But I like the idea of that beast 3, that big 3 on the outside. We're on to the top 8s. Here we go, number 8. Maybe the best in the game here at Khalil Mack. Not a whole bunch in terms of crazy pressure after Khalil Mack. Floyd has been a little disappointing ever since his injury a couple years ago. Hopefully he can step up. Mack really carries a load for this team, really. I mean, Akeem Hicks brings a lot of interior pressure. He's not going to have a whole bunch of production. And then Roquan Smith is very good in blitzes. Another guy to look out for is Bilal Nichols at the DN spot in their 3-4. Eddie Goldman can get some pressure here. So quite a few big names I rattle off. That's why they're in the top 8. Another big reason why they're in the top 8 is Khalil Mack. But then, they have Khalil Mack and they have Akeem Hicks. So what's weighing them down from being a little higher than 8? It's just not a whole bunch of depth, not a whole bunch of rotation. It's kind of Mack carrying the load here for elite pass rush. The Vikings at 7. The crazy thing about the Vikings is going back to last year, they were actually 3rd in sacks, 50 sacks with Everson Griffin missing most of the year. That is pretty wild to think about. So they get Everson Griffin back, hopefully ready to go this year with Danielle Hunter, who's actually surpassed Everson Griffin as their best pass rusher. Danielle Hunter is a young stud there, definitely making his way up. He was towards the top of the league in sacks last year. I expect even better this year. So that is a really good duo there. And they have Anthony Barr, kind of that blitzing linebacker using in blitz packages. He brings an insane amount of pressure. Doesn't quite get the sacks, brings the pressure. And they're kind of trying to develop him into different looks more as a pass rusher. Last year, it was kind of a work in progress. They're kind of giving those looks again in practice. I think he'll be used more as a pass rusher at times. Linval Joseph brings their interior pressure. They also have Stephen Weatherly and Eric Kendricks they use as in blitz packages as well too. So, and a couple young defensive tackles look out for. Jalen Holmes is one of them. So really what's bringing them up is their duo. They got a really good defensive end duo, and the thought of them, how many sacks they can get even without one of those guys is pretty ridiculous, and I think Barr will be used more as a pass rusher. Number 6 is the San Francisco 49ers. Dee Ford and Nick Bosa. A little scary because, about the health, I guess. Bosa hopefully can stay healthy. Some minor injuries already here and there, and then last year only played 3 games for Ohio State. But that's a darn good duo. It's a darn good duo. Dee Ford, I guess, really isn't a sure thing because we kind of seen some rough years, but last year was ridiculous, so hopefully he picks up where he left off. Bosa, as long as he's healthy, I'm confident he will be good. And then you got DeForest Buckner, who brings some crazy interior pressure, and I think Solomon Thomas will be a guy that steps up a little better. He's been disappointing. I think he steps up a little more. I think you can play him at the end, or you can play him on the inside. They have Armstead as well, Sheldon Day as well. Those guys can also bring some pressure, so quite a few names here with a really good duo and a really good interior guy is what brings them up to 6. So we're starting to get into the big boys here. The Redskins at 5. I like this pass rush. I mean, just look at the 4 guys on the page right there. That is a lot of pass rush. That's a lot of pressure from the 4 guys just listed there. Ryan Kerrigan, consistently double-digit sacks every year. You know what you're going to get from him. Montez Sweat's a rookie, but he's going to bring the pressure. He's going to get after the quarterback. You know that. And then Jonathan Allen is one of the better pass rushing defensive linemen in the 3-4. I think he'll take a big step up this year. I think he can be one of those D linemen that we keep seeing get closer, even past double-digit sacks. I think he can be one of those guys. And then Matt Ioannidis quietly gets a lot of production, quietly gets a lot of pressure. And then you look at the rest of the defense. Deron Payne's mainly a run stopper, but he can get in there and apply pressure to the quarterback. And then you got a couple linebackers. Ryan Anderson is really good coming off the edge or the inside. And they drafted a guy, Cole Holcomb, who I think is one of those types of linebackers, to a stand-up linebacker that is really, really good on blitz packages. So a long list of guys for the Redskins. And I just think even the top 4, I mean, that is a lot of – it's not about the sacks, but you can even say pressure. That's a lot of it right there. So I like the Redskins. Maybe that's why Rex Ryan had them top tier for defense. Maybe that's why, but I still don't know about that. I think it's really just the pass rush is what they got going for them. We're on to the top 4. It's very tight here at the top. Number 4 is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. Frank Clark, one of the best in the game, coming off the edge. They also have Chris Jones for interior. He racked up a whole bunch of sacks last year in pressure. I think he can do the same thing. Braylon Speaks is a guy that can play inside or out. They got him lined up on the outside. Young pass rusher Alex Okafor in the same boat. He's not going to get a crazy amount of pressure, but he can play the end. They've got a long list of guys that can come off the edge. So talk about the elite guys here at the top, the 2 guys at the top. They have the elite guys in Clark and Jones, and they have a long list of just rotation, and I like the rotation. You got Passanio, who hasn't really lived up to his hype yet, but a guy to watch out for because I did not like him going to the Chiefs out of the draft, out of Nova, because I didn't think he fit that 3-4. I think he fits this 4-3 much better, so a guy to look out for. And they have Ogba, who they traded for, or they picked up from the Browns, who I liked a lot as a prospect. So they got quite a few guys that can bring pressure. So they'll even use Tyrann Mathieu too. So, and then Derek Nottie, who's more their nose tackle, for being a very good run stuffer, he can actually get after the quarterback. So, long list of guys for the Chiefs, and they got 2 guys that are elite at the top. The Steelers at 3, constantly at the top of the NFL in pressure and sacks. T.J. Watt, one of the better young pass rushers coming off the edge. Opposite him is Bud Dupree, who is, he's not bad. People just label him a bust because he was a first-round pick, hasn't really lived up to it. But last couple of years, he's been getting some solid production. Not great, but he's been getting after it. And then Cam Hayward, known as one of the better pass-rushing defensive linemen. Stephon Tuitt, I don't think it's too far off of him as long as he's healthy. And then another bonus, which kind of pushing them up, I think Devin Bush on the inside will be involved in blitz packages, and he really can get after the quarterback, make the quarterback really hurry up. Hargraves, their nose, he can get in there. So they have quite a few guys there, and Watt consistently getting a lot of pressure. Watt, Hayward, 2 guys consistently getting tons of pressure there. And I mean, same with Tuitt, as long as he's healthy. On to the top 2, the Denver Broncos. I mean, they have probably the best duo in Von Miller and Bradley Chubb for the Broncos. They probably have the best duo. So that's really holding them up. But I do like the rotation. After Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, there's not a whole bunch of guys that are going to get ridiculous pressure, but there's a bunch of guys that can come in and help. You got Wolf at the defensive end spot. I put Draymond Jones. That Jones is Draymond Jones, rookie Ohio State. I think he'll probably be their 3rd best pass rusher if they use him right. I really like him in this defense. They got Gotsis. They got Shelby Harris. So a bunch of defensive linemen that are going to stop the run first, but they could get pressure. They got Hollins as a depth guy. I like DeMarcus Walker. I think he's kind of a pressure defensive lineman. Hopefully they use him more. So I like the rotation is what I'm getting at. So they have the rotation. There's nobody crazy in that rotation, but they have the rotation, and they also have the best duo. So the duo really is holding them up, but they do have a rotation. Number 1 is the Los Angeles Chargers with probably the 2nd best duo. They're up there in Joey Bosa. Hopefully he stays healthy, and Melvin Ingram. Melvin Ingram's not going to get an insane amount of sacks, but he's going to get a whole bunch of pressure. So it's not about the stats with him, and Joey Bosa's going to get after the quarterback there. And then Jerry Tillery, I mean, this is an interior pressure guy. That's his job. I mean, he could stop the run, but he was brought in here to get after the quarterback, which he's done in college. So I think it's a great fit, perfect fit. And between the 3 of those guys at the top, that's a lot. That's already a lot. And then Uchenna Nwosu, who was more of a pass rusher in college at USC they bring in last year, and they use him in all types of different ways, which I love. And he got a pretty good production for the limited amount of snaps. I mean, he played in pretty much all the games, but didn't get the playing time as some of the other guys. So I think in his second year, when he knows his role, when he's learning more from this defense, I think he's going to get a very good amount of pressure, can throw some teams off. I mean, you can throw Isaac Rochelle. I mean, it was hard to list only 4 because Rochelle brings a good amount of pressure too. He got quite a few sacks last year. And then Thomas Davis from the linebacker spot can get in there. I mean, they can use Kaiser White kind of like how they use Nwosu if they needed to. If they want to use, quite a few other linebackers they can use in blitz packages. I mean, they drafted Drew Tranquil. He could be used that way. They got quite a few Notre Dame guys in there. I better hop on the Chargers train. I'm a Notre Dame fan, so quite a few Notre Dame guys to just rattle off. But Tillery's the guy that's gonna, I think, fit with Bosa and Ingram. I think he'll get a lot of sacks because he's good, but mainly because teams are being worried about Bosa and Ingram. I think coming from the interior spot, and the flexibility, he can move inside, outside a little bit. Ingram comes off the ball. Tillery will be on his side. I just think it's perfect. So we'll see. Hopefully Bosa stays healthy. But let me know your guys' thoughts on this, what your rankings would be, where you think I hit, missed. We'll do some more of these core rankings, and can't wait to get to ranking the 32 offenses and then defenses too. I'll have my final predictions next week for the season. In season, full coverage for the NFL. We got weekly predictions, score predictions, recaps for each week, power rankings updated, so all kinds of stuff. Predict college football as well. So hopefully you can join us for that. Please subscribe. Please click that like button. Be much appreciated. That's going to do it for this one. Goodbye.